Hey everyone, it's Jordan Lee here, and I wanted to welcome you to episode 2 of Portland Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we have a treat for you. We're going to interview my co-host Steven Tran, and we're going to learn about his journey from being a software engineer turned real estate investor and real estate agent. Hey, welcome to the Portland Real Estate Podcast, and today we're going to talk with you about investing, about Steven's story, really.
Yeah.
So Steven, he got started in real estate really young and before he was a realtor. So it's kind of an interesting journey that we have to share with you today as well. We're filming on site. You want to just really briefly talk about this place and talk about what we're sitting on?
It's fun. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Jordan sitting on a bucket and some towel right now, and I'm sitting on a box that's holding our our hood vent. We didn't prepare too well, but we're on site at one of my flips, so it's a little bit fun.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get into work when you can, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Steven, you got started really young. What got you into investing? Like, how did you realize at that age? Well, first of all, when did you start? How old were you?
Actually, I don't know if I started too early. I would say I got my first property when I was, how old am I now? 30.
Okay.
Yeah, so not super early, but honestly, I wasn't planning on being an investor. I wasn't planning on being in real estate in general. I kind of felt like my hand was a little bit forced in the situation, So originally, born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I was in the Alberta arts area before it was trendy and nice and a little hipstery. Yeah. But I went to college in Seattle at the University of Washington. Moved to the Bay Area, so I've been working in tech for 10 years as a software engineer. With like an unfortunate family circumstance, I had to come home to take care of my family and had to find a housing situation for my parents. It's stressful. Nobody wants to come home and be responsible for somebody else's mortgage, and that was kind of the game plan. I'm gonna come home, gonna buy them a house, move back to the Bay Area, and just pay for their mortgage. Like, I wasn't planning on being home long term, and this is back in 2018.
Okay, so back in 2018.
Yeah.
But did you just get them a single family home, or what did you do?
No. I mean, that was the plan. They had foreclosed on their property. They owned a business that failed, and that was the plan. I was looking for single family homes. I wasn't happy about it. I was just ready to sign whatever and just get this process over with, and I don't know, maybe try out New York, maybe try out LA. But sometimes I just feel like sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time. And my sister just mentions, like, why don't you just go buy a fourplex? And I was like, what is a fourplex? Like a multifamily unit. And they're like, yeah, why don't I know you hate the idea of paying for mom and dad's mortgage. Why don't you just get a multiplex, give them one unit, and potentially rent the rest? And so, I mean, obviously that sounded better. I have two sisters, but I was going to be in charge of the full mortgage. I guess, for whatever reason. So, anything better than paying for a whole mortgage sounded good to me. So, I got a realtor. I didn't really pay attention to anything. I signed all the paperwork. I didn't look at rates. I didn't look at anything. I just looked at, I was generally told, this is what your payment's going to be.
Yep.
And basically from there, I didn't even
honestly, that's what matters, right? Does it work on paper? Yeah.
I didn't even think about that either. Like, to be honest, my first property, I'll be completely open about it. Like, the mortgage is like $4,000 a month for a fourplex, and this is 2018. I guess that's the deal now, but
yes,
yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, that'd be great. I'd be psyched about it.
Yeah, it was a 5% down FHA loan. And like I said, I didn't pay attention to a single thing. I think rates were 4.25 back then. I just signed my life away, signed every single page, didn't really pay attention to the inspection. I had some inkling of what the rents would be after I closed. And I was a little bit underwater. I still had to pay roughly $1,000 out of pocket for my parents to live initially. So
you're getting about $3,000
in rents
from the other unit. So about $1,000 a unit.
Yeah, three units, like $950. I think my highest rent was about like $1,100. But basically floating about $1,000 each. So still money coming out of pocket. I didn't think it was the best deal ever, and I just kind of kept it floating, and spent the year or so managing the property, not really knowing what I was doing. When situations would come up like COVID, I just kind of had to figure it out. Like, how do I properly address this, and how do I deal with their lease, and how do I deal with people running off or not paying rent? So it was kind of just a journey that I had to figure out along the way, completely without me being like a willing participant.
Interesting. And so now though, so it's been 2018. It's been 4 years. Value. What did you buy it for?
I bought it for $675 back in 2019. Yeah. So it took me a month or two to get that property.
Okay.
Now it's probably currently worth $950 if I put it on the market, and I wouldn't be surprised if I got $1 million for it.
Wow.
So.
And then how are you tenant wise? What's the situation there?
Yeah, so like being a landlord, I had some turnover, I had some issues, but you gotta make lemonade out of lemons, I guess. And like I've had bad situations, like I mentioned, COVID happened. I had a tenant literally just get in their car, leave all their stuff, and drive off to Idaho. Leaving, not paying rent for a month.
This was one tenant that you inherited, or was?
Yeah, all my tenants I inherited.
Okay.
One of them just got up and left all their stuff, left the place a mess. So I had to scramble. I had to get their place cleaned up. I had to, repaint the apartment. I had to figure out the situation. So this is where I've learned to be a better landlord. Just in these situations, what do I do? How do I recoup some money? They obviously broke the lease. What can I do? I obviously can't come after them. They're off in another state.
Yeah.
So, I wrote contracts. I figured out a lot of contract law. I had them sign that they were giving up their possessions in the house. They were giving up their security deposit. And like I said, this is one of my units that was rented for $900 a month. And within that first month, I got everything cleaned up. They had like 5 couches. I sold those couches because, like I said, they wrote in the contract.
5 couches and
they had 5 couches. It was really strange. You run into really interesting situations as a landlord. But I was able to sell the couches, basically make up the rent for the month, and then, this is my first vacancy. So I was like, okay, they were renting for $900 a month. How much can I get? Like $950. And lucky for me, once I kind of looked around the landscape, looked on Craigslist, looked on Rent-O-Meter, etc., I was like, wow, I could honestly rent this for like $1,250 a month. And as soon as I cleaned up and got the place on Craigslist, I got like 50 applicants.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was back in that was like late 2019, $1,250. Like I said, there's a lot of other stuff, but that happened with my tenants and turnover, like some good turnovers, some bad turnovers, but at this moment in time, the 3 units went from averaging $900 a month to, I think I'm basically floating around $1,450 a month.
Wow. So times 3, that's 4,200. Is that right?
Yeah.
About 42 and change.
Yeah.
So that and you were able to refinance and get rid of the mortgage insurance too, right? So your mortgage payment went down as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I bought it for 5% down in 2019. 2021 I refinanced in May. The value it appraised at was $810. So I think.
And part of that was based on what? Wasn't it based on you increasing the rent?
Yeah.
Kind of forced the appreciation.
So the income approach for the appraisal was able to bring my value of my property up to $810 within like 2 years, which is really great. I think the just the actual comparison values brought it up to maybe $750. Okay. Actually, the income approach actually brought it to like $900.
Okay. So they kind of
found the middle point.
They put the middle between the two. Okay.
And so once it got to that $810 value, property that I bought at 5% down in 2019, 2 years later, I owned over 20% of it. So like you mentioned, I dropped that PMI. My rate went from 4.25 to 3.375. So my payment went down from $4,000 a month to about $3,250.
Like
So at the time, with 3 units.
And did you pull out cash too or not?
No, I didn't touch the cash. I was fine with just putting it like right back into the equity and just letting it roll. And I didn't want to pay PMI. So now, with 3 units rented, my parents still living in the 4th unit. I basically averaged, like you said, like $4,200 a month. in rental income, and my mortgage was $3,250, so almost $1,000. And
yeah, you went from bleeding 1,000 to so $2,000 swing in a few years plus the equity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as you know, like I recently helped my sister get my parents a new townhouse, so they moved out of their unit.
Oh, nice.
I'm about to rent that one out for about $1,450. So this property that was costing me $1,000 a month just for my parents to live out of pocket is now going to be bringing me roughly $2,500 a month.
It's crazy.
3 years.
Yeah, and maybe not 3 years from now, it won't be as much of the increase, but you can see how, 10 years, 15 years from now, that's still going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up. You're going to keep paying the mortgage down, and just over time, really smart investment. And so that was your first one.
Yeah. So, it was my first one, and after that, I didn't really have the real estate bug for a little bit, and a lot of that came from mentorship. I met some friends, I met some people through happenstance. I met Henry, one of our mutual friends, playing basketball, and for some reason I mentioned that I had a fourplex. It's not something that I just put out there, but he asked me what I did, and I was like, okay, I'm a software engineer, and I happen to have this property where I collect rent. And so the first thing he told me is, he said, "You're an investor." And I was like, "Me? No. I just did this for my parents. It just seemed like a good idea." I was like, "No. Like these are all the major benefits."
Taking care of your family through real estate investment.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. All I was trying to do was just eliminate my costs. And so once COVID hit, I spent a lot of time with Henry. We worked out every day, and I just kind of learned all these little bits about as you mentioned, forced appreciation, managing tenants, just basically everything that has to come with being a real estate investor. And I kind of got hooked from that point. And after having those conversations, I was like, how do I find my next one?
Suddenly you were motivated.
I was motivated, and I had friends who were also motivated, and so I got into partnerships because if you're not going to be occupying a property, you're going to have to put 25% down. Well, I don't have 25% down.
Yeah, 12.5 is a lot better than 25, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking okay, well, I want to get another fourplex. This one seemed to work out so well, so I partnered with my friend Joe. We got another fourplex out in Hillsborough.
Okay.
So.
And he's kind of like you, right? He does real estate, but he also is like a full-time W-2 job.
Yeah, he's a pharmacist. So we're both doing our side jobs. Me as a software engineer, him as a pharmacist, and he got his real estate license. At the time, I didn't have my real estate license, but I was just like, okay, let's do this. I see the potential. I see how my property's grown. He and we'll probably interview him at some point. But he did rent by the room, so he was a little skeptical of the idea, but. I mean, we could talk about the numbers on that one, but
he was doing single family
houses,
renting out individual rooms,
getting better returns than just renting out whole houses.
Mm-hmm.
But we both kind of learned a lot of lessons there in terms of where the value in multifamily is. It's not just getting that cash flow. It's the equity growth can grow so much quicker with multifamily, which is what I love about multifamily.
Well, there's that, and I mean. Especially, it depends on your market, of course, right? Mm-hmm. But in Portland, the stock or the supply of multifamily is really limited.
Oh yeah. No.
So if you have a nice fourplex or threeplex or whatever that's well taken care of and rented out well, I mean, there's not that much to compete against you, right?
Yeah. And I think it was 2020, and I already seen the potential of multifamily. My partner hadn't, and sight unseen, I was just like, you know what, $50,000 over. Let's get this. And I know that in that market back then, maybe that would have seemed crazy, but now we have multifamilies going $200,000 over appraisal gap. I mean, all I asked was I just want to pay $50,000 over. I just want to land this, and it was a very reasonable price.
So you got another fourplex, and then this time you went 25% down. What was the price point for that one?
That was we put our offer at $700, and we got it down to $690 during the closing process.
Okay, so 7-ish. Yeah. And it was fully occupied, or?
fully occupied. We cash flowed $1,000
Right out of the gates.
each. Yeah, $1,000 each. Which, when you think about it,
whoa! So you were cash flowing right out of the gate, two grand.
Yeah, but we also were $190,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
So I mean, not the best return.
10% cash in cash, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
In 20 in for 200,000, you get 20,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Yeah. Decent.
It was okay. I mean, I just saw the potential there. So the reason why I bid $50,000 over, because it was roughly the same price point as my Vancouver fourplex. But the thing was is that each unit was 3-bed, 1 bath, and my Vancouver property, every unit is 2-bed, 1 bath.
So you knew immediately, like, it's got to be more because the square footage is more, and the bedroom is more.
Literally, I just thought to myself, one more bedroom. It could have been. I think that's the only thought I had, was it literally has an extra bedroom. I'm sure I can get more rent for that one.
Right.
Even if it is in Hillsborough. I mean, I think Hillsborough and Vancouver are comparable markets. So I gave it very little thought, very little analysis, and I'm kind of shoot from the hip.
Yep.
And so I just picked it up. I was like, 12 bedrooms, I can't not make money. You know?
And so now, tenant-wise, are there still the inherited tenants, or is it new tenants?
So I had inherited tenants. As I mentioned, the rents were a little low for my liking. I had lower rents in those units than I did in my Vancouver units, which, like I said, the Hillsborough property had 3-bed, 1 bath, and my Vancouver property had 2-bed, 1 bath. And for some reason, I was able to charge like $200 more for my Vancouver property. And I just saw, like this place has a lot of deferred maintenance, has a lot of work that could be done. And yeah, we were collecting $1,000 a month. Like I said, not the best return after dropping $190,000, which was about $85,000 to $90,000 each. It was really painful. So, I just saw the opportunity. I was like, okay, I looked at comparables here, 3-bed, 1 bath. If we fix this place up, our rents are $1,100 right now. I think I can get almost $2,000 a month
per unit.
Okay. So raising 3 units from $1,100 to $2,000, that's additional $1,800 a month. Yep. So almost like $900 per person.
Yep.
Each month. So I was like, we gotta go for this. And I looked into the tenant laws. All of our tenants were month to month. And I started the process in terms of like, hey,
we need to remodel.
We need to remodel. We need to get this place up to a working order. There's a lot of, as we found out throughout the process, there's a lot of health hazards, a lot of issues that I just didn't feel comfortable with, especially with the property I owned. I wanted to make sure that it was a good place to live and that the property would still be standing. There's a lot of big concerns, and once I ripped open the walls, I was actually even more surprised than I thought I would be. So.
Yeah, you want people to live in a place of dignity,
Yeah, and I think everybody, that all of our tenants, we've been really nice to them. We kind of warned them months ahead that this was the plan, and we were just, we were trying to give them enough time to find a better situation for them, and I mean, it's just we purchased this place and it had, like I said, when the tenants got out, I can't believe how many issues it had. One unit had German roaches, fleas. The first step I took in and I started taking things apart, I had fleas crawling up my leg.
Oh, jeez.
Taking apart the cabinets, looking behind, I was like, wow, there's there's been plumbing leaks for at least 10 years. The subfloor is rotted through, so we had to fix that. There was mold through the entirety of the roof. And then, as our contractor started working on it, I was like, wow, this roof is leaking. And it didn't come up in inspection, but this roof needed to be replaced, and we just replaced the entire roof. So at this point, we're still working on it. 9 months later, 3 units empty, but I definitely see the value in it. I know it's a big pain point spending that money, on all these renovations. I think we're close to $100,000 in fixing it. But I feel like these are things we could have avoided anyway.
It's either now or later.
It's either now or later, and it's gonna get worse later. Maybe a rotted. There's some rotted wood that would collapse or something. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy we're tackling it all now. We're gonna make 3 great homes for 3 great families, and that's what we're really excited about. And like when we do get those rents up, as we talked about forced appreciation, we're really confident that the equity in this property is going to be insane.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Huh. And what is the Zillow or Realtor Estimate saying now?
I mean, it's just Zillow's estimates, not knowing the rents have changed, not knowing that we're renovating.
But yeah.
It is saying roughly, I think somewhere in the 900s.
Wow.
And we bought it literally end of 2020, so it's been 2 years? Less than 2 years?
That's crazy.
Yeah, less than 2 years, a year and a half, and we're getting close to 900 something thousand. And we're confident if we do fix it up and actually get it rented, it will appraise for close to $1 million.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, we'll have $300,000 equity.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone's paying somewhere between $1,700, $1,900 in rent or whatever.
I mean, we're expecting 2,000.
Yeah, or 2,000. I mean, it's gonna appraise super well. And that's the thing I think people don't understand about renovating and flipping and fixing. I mean, people see, rent's going up. Can't believe you got to kick these people out and raise the rent. But you got to think about okay, there's mold here, right?
Yeah.
There's rodents. There's all this
stuff.
There's
definitely rodents. I forgot about that.
And like you said, you got to pay all this money to renovate it. It has to be worth it. It has to be a win-win, right? I mean, even though rents are going up, it's a better space.
I mean, I feel like for my tenants too, it was just constant upkeep. This was breaking.
Right.
Every single month, I was always there fixing something.
Mm-hmm.
The plumbing's leaking, the water heater needed replacing, and it was just one of those times where it's look, to save everybody time and energy, we just need to get this place completely fixed up, up to par, up to an actual good living standard. I felt like with a lot of landlords, a lot of people just end up patching. They just do the bare minimum to get things along. They
keep the rent the same, do the bare minimum, and
Yeah.
just don't worry about it.
And it just
then
makes it
sell it.
worse. Yeah, it makes it worse and worse. You cover over a leak, and it just leaks continuously, and then the subfloor rips out. Somebody takes a step, and I literally did this. I took a step in my unit after I ripped out the floor, and my foot went through the floor.
Jesus.
So just think
I was just waiting to happen to one of your tenants.
Yeah, there's a lot of liability there. I just didn't know a better solution, and like I said, I worked with them, and we did say, hey, if you guys do want to come back, we'll offer that. We are going to get market rents, because we put in so much work. It is a lot of time, effort, and money out of our pockets to get this to happen. So, like I said, it was. I basically had to convince my partner Joe that this was going to be a good investment. He was. He's on the cash flow train, and even his family was telling hey, you're making this much money from these single family houses, renting them by the room. You might as well keep doing that. Well, we might not have the best cash flow, even though we did cash flow off the bat, which was great. But we did just make our investment back and more just in equity growth in the last 2 years. I know it's not tangible money in your pocket right now, but we know we can access it if we really needed to.
That's what we love about real estate, and it's hard to just use one metric. The CaseShiller Index over the last 30 years or whatever, 4.3% appreciation gain. It seems low, but really you have to take into account multiple things, right? You have to take into account equity gain, principal payment reduction over time, and then you also have to take into account your rental increase. So it's not just that one metric that we're looking at when we're looking at real estate investments. And as you can see, reinvesting into you have a lot of control over it, right? You can increase the value.
That's the big thing that I love now is I'm very hands-on. As you can see, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we've done a lot of work here. I have some before pictures, and maybe I'll splice it in.
Yeah, do we take any videos of the demolition day?
I have videos of demolition. This place was a mess, but no matter what kind of market you're in, there are places to add a lot of value. There's a lot. What I noticed, and I became a realtor last year because I love real estate so much. Obviously, I was like, if I so many properties, might as well just be a realtor too.
Yep.
Since I talk about it all the time.
Yep.
There's so many opportunities in whatever market to add value. If you find a house that needs some work, that's gonna put off a lot of people. And so you can be the one to add that value to make this, make a home a beautiful space that somebody's gonna want to pay the premium for. And that's what I tell all my clients, because I focus on being what I call myself the investor agent. Is like, okay, let's add some value to you. Let's add some wealth to your life. Like, can you add value to this space so that somebody will pay you that premium for that home instead of you going and finding that nice house and you're paying the premium for all the contractors,
Right.
all the all the work that somebody else did. You're paying double or triple just for like something nice that you could easily do yourself, or even just pay a contractor for to do. And you'll save a lot of money. So I try to add that value to my clients.
Yeah, I mean, if we went on and searched, right? I mean, yeah, inventory is super low, right? It seems like everything's moving super fast, but guaranteed there's going to be plenty of stuff listed on the MLS that is stale, right? It's been sitting because it needs repairs and because it needs work done to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think it's impossible. I'm not I don't consider myself a handy person. I consider myself a handy person now, but I was a software engineer. I sat in front of a computer. I only was handy because I was I'm cheap. I'm honestly like I was being
frugal.
Cheap. Yeah, sure. One of my tenants moved out. I was like, okay, like this is my inherited tenant. This is my Vancouver property, my first one. And when they moved out, I was like, okay, what do I do? Like, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody to teach me any of these things. I was like, okay, I gotta definitely paint. And there's a hole in the wall. I have to figure out how to patch that up.
Did you just go to YouTube or what?
YouTube. I mean, I went to don't judge my work on that first unit, but I just was like, oh, I got spackle. I just spackle this whole thing. Like, I didn't know how to do drywall. I didn't know how to do any of those things. Basically, I did the work of somebody who did not know how to do construction,
right?
And like I said, even just doing that, I think I got market rents. I'm not saying that like that was the best thing to do, but I did the best I could with my ability at the time. I mean, like I say, every time you do something, you gain a little bit of knowledge and you get a little bit better. And also, from that point, I started embracing my mentors and asking them what I should do and how I can basically, like, what should I do in this situation? How do I fix this hole here? What should I do to this unit to add the most value? And they helped me out. They gave me advice, or they literally came there and said, hey, we're gonna do flooring because we're gonna replace all this moldy ass carpet. like this is gonna add value to your place. So from those experiences, I learned a lot. And after doing it a couple times, I'll do my own flooring. I'm not gonna pay someone.
So that was number 2, and this is in the last few years. Now, but already there's been more projects in addition to this one. So what was the next one after those 2 fourplexes?
Yeah, I think the next one. This might be the next one.
Oh, this is the next one. Okay.
Yeah. So I after the first 2 successes, I was getting a little like hungry for more.
Yeah.
And I had done things so very traditional. The first one was FHA. The second one was just a normal conventional loan. Yep. I talked to one of my friends, Tony. And just shown interest that I was interested in partnering on an investment property, and we started looking, and this one popped up, which you can see here if you're on YouTube. And we kind of just jumped at it. He just asked me, hey, do you want to get this one? It's not financeable. There's a lot of issues. Go walk in. There's no lights.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to see anything.
Yeah.
Just go check it out. And if you like it, we can go lock it up. I didn't particularly like it. I walked on the ground. There was a huge water leak, which made it unfinanceable. The floors were literally wavy. I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, the subfloor is all curled up from the water damage. But I at that point I'd done enough work to be like, okay, literally everything's possible. Everything is fixable. So
yeah, the house isn't falling over.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't financeable, gave me a little pause. But I had never been through the hard money process, and we went through it together. I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of fears. I had a lot of fears about the application.
Yeah.
So they asked about what is your rehab experience look like, and I was like, what's my rehab experience? I guess working in my apartments, and luckily I was able to qualify for that loan. Pretty high loan, but we know we're going to be working hard on this property, getting it up to snuff, and refinancing it afterwards. So
so what did the private money loan look like then?
So we bought it for $450. We have a rehab portion of it for roughly $90,000.
Okay.
And I think our percentage was about 9%.
So you're about 9%. And how many points do you have to pay on that too?
I'm not sure. See, I'm not great at focusing on the
Yeah,
number.
probably somewhere between 1 and 2
1 or 2,
points.
yeah.
Kind of
I mean,
classic.
You know, just knowing that we're at 9% and knowing that other people are getting, you know, like
Sometimes 12.
Yeah, like
Probably
12%
up to 15
are
now, some
I was
people.
like, that sounds reasonable. At the end of the day, I usually don't focus too much on the loan because I know it's short term.
Right.
It's just like, okay, what is the payment?
Yeah, and what was that payment end up being?
$3,300.
3,300. So you have to sustain that for about 6 months type situation.
Yeah.
So kind of you're basically you gotta assume about 1,900 or whatever. Almost 20 grand in upfront, and then in addition to the down payment, was it 10%?
Yeah, we basically ended up putting 50 grand each.
Okay. So 50 grand plus the 20 for the loan costs. So yeah, 120.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, and you know, we kind of just jumped into it. Like, okay, there's all these issues. Like we planned, and you were here the first day. You know, Jordan's you know, a dear friend, and we got a bunch of people, and we ended up demoing this place, and we had video, and like I said, if I can splice it in, I will. This place was a mess. We literally destroyed the kitchen. I gave Jordan sledgehammer duty, and he
yeah,
got
that was fun.
Yeah, he got the kitchen knocked out in I don't know, like literally like 20 minutes. So
it's easy to destroy things.
it is. I literally did a post today about that. Like that, like literally you can pay someone $2,000 or $3,000 to demo your house, or you can have a fun day having beers and just give everybody a sledgehammer, and you'll save yourself $2,000-3,000.
Yeah. But what else is interesting about this house is that if you're on YouTube and watch the intro, there's an extra lot as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically a full lot. So did you talk to the city about that, or?
We didn't talk to the city per se. We talked to our friend Ken.
Okay.
Just kind of what can we do? You know, it's definitely a great space for ADU. I mean, obviously splitting the lot was a thought, but you know, that can take a year or take a while.
Yeah, if you want to subdivide.
It could also cost like another $80,000 just to have the lot looking the same. So
would you have to improve the frontage?
Yeah, I think there was some work along the front, along the street. I think we'd have to build a sidewalk.
Put in a sidewalk. But yeah, improving the frontage generally means putting in a sidewalk and maybe driveway, right?
Yeah. And we just thought like, okay, maybe this is not worth it. But we could have the lot no matter what. We have one gigantic lot. And so there's lots of opportunity over there. We may close it off with a fence and like maybe just rent it out for RV parking or you know, like another thought is build an ADU.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean we'll see. We still haven't had like a full discussion on that. Our budget's a little low on what we're gonna do there. But
wait till it's cash flowing a little bit, and then I mean there's no rush, right?
Yeah. So you know we have a huge lot. I think that is a privilege in this market. There's a lot of opportunity, and you know maybe I'll hear on Bigger Pockets or another podcast about like what can we do with extra space. My idea right now is, or not my idea, Tony's idea is like, hey, let's rent it out for RV parking or all this stuff, or just long-term storage. And if we can make an extra $1,000 a month doing honestly nothing, that's great, you know. So
yeah, cool. And so then the plan with this home is, are you going to turn it into a long-term rental or a short-term rental, or?
So this one we're hoping to turn into a short-term rental.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about the next property. Which we also picked up. It was a house in Troutdale.
So you're another property. This is number 4.
Yeah, so this happened. This happened really quickly.
In not that many years.
No, like literally month after month. I picked up this property in December. This one was immediate rehab, and then you know, I was told of another property in Troutdale, and I just thought it was a great opportunity to pick that one up.
Okay.
And yeah, I picked that one up. I won't go into too much detail there, but I just thought it was a great opportunity for long-term rental. A short-term rental.
Short-term rental. Okay, so you're doing that one as an Airbnb,
Yeah.
and maybe later we can film an episode on that one. And
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
There's someone in there, but Troutdale, like that doesn't strike me as a market that's like, oh yeah, I want to go stay in Troutdale. But what are you seeing for rents and for like occupancy?
Yeah, so we actually bought it fully furnished. I think they had.
It was already set up.
It was already mostly set up. They had furniture. We bought the house with the couches, the dining tables, the beds.
Oh, so did you get to see their rent rolls? Were they already Airbnb-ing it, or?
You know, they gave us screenshots of their potential rents. Like, oh, this person wants to stay for 2 months and they're going to pay us this amount. Like, the numbers were pretty ridiculous. But, you know, I think we just kind of went on a whim. And like I said, I kind of just shoot from the hip. Just knowing what I know about Portland and their Airbnb laws, where, as I'll give details here, you cannot do an Airbnb in Portland unless you have like a short-term rental permit.
And that's the city of Portland proper, not the Portland metro area, but in the city of Portland. Right now we're in Beaverton, and Beaverton doesn't have the same restrictions.
Yeah, exactly.
And Troutdale is, you could consider part of the greater Portland metro, but it's not, doesn't have the same rules as Portland.
Yeah, it's literally like, if you get on I-205, I-84 from I-205, like literally on the edge of Portland, and you can get to Portland in 10 minutes from my Troutdale house.
Right.
And it's also like a lot closer to the mountains.
There's a river right there.
Yeah, there's Marine Drive. It's really nice
to see. There's a lake there too, and a golf course or something.
I don't know Troutdale though. It's funny. I have this Airbnb that I'm selling out there, but I don't know Troutdale too. I like hanging out there. There's like a nice downtown, good food. Like I said, it just feels more naturey. Like there's like fresh air, and it's just like you just have a lot better views of the water. So I like that. I think the actual selling point is I have a full house that I can rent out to 10 people.
Okay. There's a bunch of rooms.
There's one room with 2 bunk beds, so 4 beds in there. There's 3 rooms with queen size beds. So we can honestly fit like a solid 10 people in this house, and that's not something you can do in Portland. So,
yeah.
The bucket. Yeah. Sorry.
10 people. I mean, when you go on that search function on Airbnb, like once you get over that 10, it really limits what you'll find.
You're basically not gonna see anything in Portland, because of the restrictions. I think the restrictions are, and I'll mention to everybody, it's you have to live in the house 270 days of the year if you're the owner.
Okay.
There's 2 different
for residential, unless it's commercially zoned or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how commercial works with Airbnb, but if you're like literally you're trying to do Airbnb in Portland. Yeah. Like you literally have to live there full time.
Okay.
270 days out of the year. So
you could like live in if you had an ADU, you could live in the ADU.
You could live in the
ADU space or something like that.
Yeah, that just doesn't give you a lot of full size options. So that's why in Portland you end up seeing like
basement.
Hey, you want to rent a room in my house and just hang out with me in the kitchen, like when you guys are everybody here?
No, a client of mine rented out his basement. He pays for his mortgage. So.
Yeah. I mean, my sister redid their whole basement with this and literally built in a separate entrance so they could literally do an Airbnb in their basement. So it's doable, but it's just tough. To make a good amount of money on it, or to maximize the space, like you kind of have to like basically house hack to do Airbnb in Portland. And so, with this Troutdale opportunity, I was like, okay, it's not too far from Portland.
Close to the airport.
Close to the airport, close to the freeway, I-84. So you literally jump on there.
Yep.
You're 10 to 15 minutes from downtown.
Right. And maybe 40 minutes from Mount Hood or less.
About 45 minutes.
About 45 minutes to the mountain.
So I thought it was a good opportunity, and I was, like I said, I had no experience at Airbnb other than staying at them. But since we started back in mid-February, we've been booked every single weekend. We currently have a stay that's been there for like 6 weeks, which is great. I love going there and cleaning my Airbnb.
That's so nice, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously they get a monthly discount, but at the end of the day, like knowing that every weekday is booked up, all the weekends are booked up, like it's been a really solid income bringer. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I think
that's more than covering the mortgage and the Airbnb fees or whatever.
Yeah, easily. Like the Airbnb fees aren't that much. Like they're a pretty small percentage of the actual fee, which is great. But it's easily covering the mortgage. Like even with us not even being super hosts, like literally just putting our house on the market, we've been booked every single weekend. I always say that it is a lot more service oriented, just being there to answer any questions, making sure the place is pristine. You know, I've had my fair share of cleaning toilets and doing that until I got my system set up. You know, getting cleaners, getting people out there to, you know, fix everything, having it ready. So now that I have a mostly better system, like I'm sure I'll be cleaning every once in a while, but you know, I can get my cleaners out there for you know, at least like half the time. So for now, it is a very active job, but it's definitely a lot better income than my long-term rentals. So
there you go.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Cool. So does that's 4? Am I counting
Yes,
right?
4. I'm not going to count my parents' new home, which obviously you're the lender on that. Helping my sister purchase a townhouse near my original fourplex. Mm-hmm. So they can still manage it, but a much bigger space.
Yep.
Which, you know, I just want, you know, obviously I don't want my parents to live in an apartment forever. So we were able to upgrade them utilizing my sister's loan. I did help out with a lot of the payments as gift funds. I guess I won't count that as another home, but you know, I'm happy to obviously put my parents in a better situation.
You know, one of the great things that you can do, and a lot of people don't know about, is that even if you own a primary, you can buy another home as a primary for your parents. You know, as long as basically, it's when your parents can't qualify for a loan.
Yeah.
So you can, like, even though I have a primary, I could buy a primary for my parents, and a lot of my clients do that for multiple reasons. But yeah, it's, you know, it's an awesome thing that you can do for your parents.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't actually know that, so that's good to know. We utilized my sister's loan. I know she really wanted to buy a house for a long time, so I think it was a good opportunity to get her, you know, a low down payment loan to get this house. I think the payments end up being pretty reasonable. And at the end of the day, too, this has got to be more of an emotional decision for us. It's just, do our parents have a larger space where they stay happy, that's clean, and they don't have to share a laundry room with the rest of my tenants, and you know, they finally have like their actual own space. They have their own garage that goes straight into the house, so
it's low maintenance too, right?
Yeah,
it's not like I don't remember very much of yard.
It's a townhouse, in a townhouse community. There's a decent HOA, but they take care of a lot of stuff. They manage the yard. Honestly, it's pretty straightforward, simple. You know, they're just happy to have more space. So is this dead? Oh man.
Whoops.
Well, that's fun.
I just noticed that. I don't know how long it's been dead for.
Oh.
Well, shoot, we'll have to finish it up later.
Okay, well, we can also use the audio.
Yeah, we can use the audio from this.
Yeah, we'll cut that part out. But if they can, I'll enhance the audio. But yeah, so yeah, like for that house is the most decision. But you know, like the fact that like, you know, I built got all these properties to cash flow. To get my parents that home was like kind of like the main goal when I came back here in 2018. It's just like, how can I take care of my parents forever in perpetuity? And you know, all my cash flow for me is basically my parents' retirement. So that was the game plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of making that transition from or doing W-2 job while doing real estate. You know, I know a lot of people are interested in real estate and might be in a steady W-2 job. Obviously, it helps to get financing when you have a W-2 job. How is that transition for you? And kind of like, what are your long-term plans or goals with that?
Yeah, I mean, so like as I mentioned, you know, I've been a software engineer the entire time I've been doing this. I've recently gotten into real estate.
Because you can do that remotely, right?
Yeah. I came back to Portland to work remotely because I worked out of, this is before COVID, I worked out with my company that I had to come home to take care of my parents, and that was true. Yeah, but having that W-2 job, obviously as a software engineer, decent salary, Bay Area salary, helped me obviously land almost all these properties, you know, having that high income. Like honestly, I don't know how to do it without. You know, we mentioned before, like I definitely want to leave my tech job because I'm definitely really invested in real estate. But you know, like one of my fears is how am I going to buy my next property? You know, I know I'm going to have to. Like I've been a realtor for, you know, a year and a half, and I have the greatest income from it from just starting. And I think I would probably need like 2 years of tax returns.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you're self-employed, you need to show a minimum of 2 years in order to be qualified for a loan to use that income. It's just because self-employed income can be a little bit more volatile.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain circumstances where, like let's say you were working as a therapist, W-2, for 10 years, and then you switched over to being 1099 for a different company. And then in that case you could, do 1 year, but in your case, switching from like a tech job to a realtor, there's not, we could use your Schedule E income, your rental income, of course.
Yeah.
But your real estate income, we won't be able to use from selling homes until you have a two years on your taxes, basically.
Yeah. So it's been tough. I wanted to give up my job for a very long time. I've fallen out of love with not software engineering. I love engineering in general, but maybe my company in general. And I've been wanting to give it up for a long time, but I was like, but how am I gonna get the next property? That's literally been my whole entire mindset. So I hustle. I wake up in the morning. I take my meetings for my day job as engineer. I run off. I show houses. I do all the obviously anything involving real estate in terms of like fixing my properties or dealing with contractors. So my day is packed, and I know that I'm making a sacrifice now in terms of like my well-being and all this stuff. But I know I'm building for the future. Like that said, things move really quickly when you're hustling. Like I said, if I gave up my day job to be a full-time real estate agent or a full-time real estate investor, I think I may have run into a lot of problems. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to scale so quickly. So
right.
We all choose our own sacrifices, and this is the one I chose for the time being.
But theoretically, if at this point, now that you've made the investments that you've made, you could probably go over to being full-time real estate and real estate investor.
Yeah. Well, I'll say
you might not be able to, be able to acquire as quickly, but you might lower your lifestyle a little bit.
Honestly,
but if you had to get by with just your investment income and your real estate income, you could make it at this point.
Yeah, I would say for me, like I honestly am trying to quit soon if I'm able to refinance out of this property, which is a hard money loan.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'm on regular loans for everything, this property's done. Hopefully, get this running as a short-term rental. I'm at a place where maybe I don't need the next property as quickly. Like the cash, like you don't need too many properties to basically have money to live off of. And I think I'm at a place where I have one full fourplex to myself. I partnered on a fourplex, and I have 2 houses I'm partnered on. That probably should be enough for me to live off of. I'm not gonna just hang out and play video games all day. I'll find ways to continue to have income, but I'm okay with not getting the next property at this point. Taking a pause.
You don't need to rush and get another one. Right?
Yeah, I sometimes it's like you work hard and then you can relax for a little bit. And I'm not gonna relax so hard. I'm gonna try to continue to build my business as investor-focused agent. But in terms of like having that W-2 to get the next property, I think I'm past that because I know how hard of a struggle it was to get here. I knew I had to hold on to it to get the properties because I was so obsessed with like just building my empire, and I'm at a point where it's like, okay, take a pause, enjoy, live off the cash flow for a little bit, think what your next move is. And I definitely think my next move is obviously building out my business and maybe consultancy in terms of how to invest, how to start investing, how do you continue to grow your investments. I think there's just like a lot of more opportunities when you're out of your W-2 and you have the wherewithal to do whatever you want to do.
Right.
So like that's the plan. I want to have the freedom to figure what that looks like, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity without real estate.
So if you were, if one of our listeners or viewers was interested in getting into their first property, and they had a little bit of money saved up, what would your recommendation be to somebody to get that first one, to get started?
FHA, multifamily, low down payment, get started, learn the ropes, keep your W-2 as you get the property, obviously. So you can kind of just figure out what is it like to manage your property? What is it like to, fix up your own properties?
Mm-hmm.
What is it like to deal with people running off or being rude to you, or
see if you really like it or not.
See if you like the actual
see if you like the grind.
job. Yeah. So that is my recommendation for anybody who actually really wants to give it a try. House hack. Like I said, you can buy it for low down payment.
Yeah.
Up to 4 units if you actually live there. Like, do you need to go buy a nice house right off the bat? Maybe go live in one of your units for a while, for a year, literally a year.
So that's a good point. Like, you still haven't tried to even buy that home that's like a dream home for you. This whole time you've only been focusing on things that are investments.
Yeah.
Nothing that you've bought has been like sexy. It's all been like, okay, this looks good on paper. I have a good feeling about this, or this is gonna help my sister, this is gonna help my mom. It's not a crazy nice house, but it'll cash flow or it gets the job done.
I'll say, having my fourplex is sexier than having like a nice like $700,000 house. Because at the end of the day, I know a $700,000 house is a liability. It's just something I had to pay for. If I get that nice house, that just means I have that nice mortgage to pay for. And honestly, I would just rather have things that bring me money as quickly as possible, so I can say, hey, I make more in cash flow than my day job.
Right.
I literally don't have to work, and that I'm
now I have freedom. Now I don't have to worry about get up early and do those meetings every day.
I wake up every day 7 a.m. to get to these meetings that I don't care for or don't want to do. And I mean, if I'm still working for them and they find out about this, I didn't say I love you, X company, but I basically wanted freedom, and I was willing to work super hard for it. I want freedom for me. I want freedom for my family. Freedom for my future family, my girlfriend, whatever life we have with our family. I started that early, and I still think I'm relatively young, and like I said, I have a good base. I'm gonna have this cash flow forever, and it's definitely gonna continue to grow. I'm gonna have equity that's gonna continue to grow, so I feel like I will continue to have opportunity. And I'm not gonna stop hustling. I will just be able to hustle on something that I love, instead of hustling for a job that I feel like I'm undervalued
hustling for someone else,
Hustling for someone else where I could be let go at any time.
Yep.
I am being told what to do. I really enjoy, even though I work 10 times harder at, as a realtor, as an investor, doing my own rehabs, I love it way more. It's under my control.
Yep.
And that's my passion, I'd rather do that than have a cushy 6-figure job.
Right.
So that's the game plan.
Totally. Well, I mean, is there any more to the story, or does that pretty much wrap something up?
No, I mean, I would say the story is always moving. Don't be surprised if I have another property next month. It seems to happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah. I say take a break, but I'm engrossing myself in this world of real estate as an agent. Opportunities do come my way, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm always looking for the next best opportunity, and if I can't afford it, I'll partner. I'll figure some way to get it. It's always about find the deal and find a way to pay for it later. So, that's kind of my motto, and I'm gonna see what happens. So the journey is still going, and for now, right now, I'm in a really good place, and hoping I can finish up all these renovations. Like I said, hopefully take a break, and which I'm probably not going to do.
Get yourself ready for the next one.
Get myself ready for the next one, and build that empire. So build that empire for my family, and make sure everybody's happy and comfortable, and they don't have to worry about working anymore. So that's the dream.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to Portland Real Estate Podcast. Reach out if you guys have any questions, or if you know someone that wants to be interviewed.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, you.